Hey everybody, welcome to Elegant Productions here. So I'm going to be doing a tier list on the chapters from Master Detective Archives Raincode. I just finished the game a few hours ago. I definitely recommend it. I actually think in a lot of ways it's better than the games from the Danganronpa series. It just felt a lot more grounded in the way it handled its story. It felt a lot more cohesive, I guess you would say. I still very much enjoy Danganronpa, but for a different reason than I enjoy this game. But either way, I do love these sort of like whodunit sorts of cases and such. As I'm going through this, I'm going to be talking about the chapters, and I will bring up like characters and motives, cause of death, and things like that. The goal is to stay vague with these things, so I'm not telling you, oh, he hit him with something, or oh, he escaped that way. And I don't even really want to use he or she or anything like that as I'm going through it, to try to keep a little bit of the mystery still for anyone who's looking at this. They don't mind like a little bit of a hint, but don't want it to be like totally spoiled at the same time. Um, so yeah, we're gonna jump right in, and the worst chapter of Raincode is Chapter 3, No Longer a Detective. As usual, Chapter 3 comes up at the rear of the story, as it does with every other Danganronpa game, arguably. I don't know if that's always strictly the case, but I do think in this game, Chapter 3 is the worst. It's still a really nice case, I think. I just think a big thing was the characters weren't really well fleshed out, and for what little bit we got of them, they weren't very interesting. They were kind of one note in a way. Um, the culprit had a means of escape, which I kind of saw before I jumped into the mystery labyrinth, but I didn't quite figure out how it was done until I jumped in. Let's see. A lot of things were just kind of. It felt a little bit rushed. Like it went to basically that it went to a conclusion too quickly. I don't know. It just I still think it's a really good case per se. I would say a little over the top and how much was being done in it, but still really good. I also like the partner that I had in this case. Um, so yeah, like even though the characters themselves I don't think were really well done, I think they kind of just took on a little more than they could handle for such a short case. It's not even really that short. It's pretty much the same as all the rest of them, but I still feel like they kind of tried to delve into too many characters for this one, and none of them really got fleshed out except for the victim. He got fleshed out pretty well, but that's just about it. Um, the next worst case is Chapter 1, the Nailman Killings. So this case I actually think was really well handled. I had it still probably could have had more time with the suspects, but I actually did find that the suspects, even for the little amount of time they had, were more interesting than the ones from Chapter 3. The partner that I had in this, that partner worked really, really well for the case. I like the way the power was used. The it's just and just figuring out how the locked room mystery was um, done was nice. It was actually fairly simple, I found, but it's still interesting. The the mystery labyrinth was nice. It had a few extra little twists thrown in, which is cool. I like it when they actually threw the extra twists into the labyrinth itself. Um, yeah. Oh, I guess that's one thing I like. I like when they had you like recreate the culprit's escape methods. That was pretty cool. So I did very much enjoy that. Um, like I think this is a really good as a chapter 1 case. I feel like if this was the first case, it probably like the chapter 0 sort of case, it probably wouldn't have left as strong of an impression. Um, just because it is fairly basic. But because it's chapter 1 and technically the second case, I actually think it works really well. So jumping into the next one, this is going to be we're getting like right into the middle cases. This is the fourth best. I'm going to go with Chapter 0, the massacre on the Amaterasu Express. As far as the who done it aspect of it, of figuring out who did it, how they did it, and all that sort of stuff, this one was possibly the toughest after one that I'm gonna get into later. Like, I actually thought this one, it actually had me questioning who the culprit could be. Um, Kind of figured it out as time was going on, but compared to like all the other chapters, like this one, it took me longer to figure out who the culprit was in this one and how they did it and everything. But when you figure out who did it and how they did it and everything, it's very rewarding, I feel. The characters, you still don't spend a whole lot of time with them, but they actually felt mostly fleshed out, mostly interesting because I really you did get more time with them than you did with the ones down here. Um, yeah, they were nice characters. I still wish one in particular could have lived a little longer, but like after you get past the chapter, you forget about that character, so it's not that big of a deal either. It's a really really strong first case to go through because it has a nice mystery, good culprit, just good mysteries all around, and figure out how it's done. It starts the game off with a bang, without being overly complicated, which is what I like about it. Okay, so the third best case in the game is going to be Chapter 2, A Silent Curtain Call. And yes, I am kind of putting these in tiers based on how much I enjoyed them. Whereas this one was average, this one's below average, this one's not that great. And this one is a really good case. I still kind of had the culprits. And I actually, this is like the one case where I had everything figured out to a T, down to the tiniest detail. Yet just actually piecing it together and like showing it off was really interesting. And I actually thought the mystery labyrinth was really fun too. So it even solving a mystery that I had already figured out was not bad at all. It's a really good story. It's very like it really tugs at your heartstrings, especially at the end. So I definitely really like this case a lot. Um, Chapter 3, following it up, this is another reason that Chapter 3 is down here, is Chapter 3 kind of disobeyed the logic of who the culprit is from Chapter 2, and kind of made that um, Chapter 3 a little worse by comparison, just because Chapter 2 did something similar, but um, in chapter two, it just comes to a different conclusion. I can't say much more without spoiling it, but this was a really good case. The partner was really cool to play with. I grew to enjoy this partner as I was going through the chapter because before this person had didn't really leave much impression on me, and I kind of felt like they were just a little bit annoying. But as I went through the chapter with them, they kind of rubbed off on me a little bit. Can't I have to say, the forte was really cool. The forte being the power, quite possibly the most interesting forte to use in the entire game, honestly, just because the way it affects the investigation. Overall, just the twist on who the culprit is was really cool, even if I had already figured out the twist myself. Okay, so now we got our top two, which these two are both the last two chapters, which is honestly really, really solid. Because one thing I felt that Danganronpa has kind of been weak about is particularly the final chapter. Usually the penultimate chapter has been good. Um, I even would say that about Danganronpa 1, that the penultimate chapter was good at setting up the final chapter. And I'm not saying that the final chapters from Danganronpa are bad. It's just they've been kind of middle of the road for me at best. Um, but the second best chapter is going to be chapter 5. This one actually was really, really difficult on figuring out what to do. And in fact, I actually kind of want to just put them both in first place, to be honest. I am going to keep chapter 4 at number 1. But chapter 5, this was a really, really strong conclusion to the whole story. There was some really nice twists in here. A lot of people will say that they have a hard time understanding how this happened, how that happened, or why this makes sense or that makes sense. But for the most part, the game gives you the answers to all these questions if you are paying attention to what it's saying. Um, I mean, I'm sure there's still some questions that you could ask, but for the most part, I actually don't feel like you have to suspend your disbelief as much with Chapter 5 of this game as you have had to in other Danganronpa games. Like, it actually felt somewhat believable that this could happen. Um, so I actually really, really appreciate that with how it's grounded and how it just kind of covers everything up. And this game did a really good job at foreshadowing what was going to be coming to the end of the game. And then, because I didn't mention it before, the epilogue that added on to the end of chapter 5, which does explain some of the questions that you might have earlier, but the epilogue that comes along with chapter 5 I thought was really good. It was nice just seeing where everyone's at, where everyone's going, and kind of getting a hint at what their conflicts would be if they do a sequel to the game, which I'm pretty sure that they're probably going to do because they're very much interested in it. So I actually think story-wise, Chapter 5 might even be above Chapter 4. But the reason Chapter 4 is up top is because of the case itself and figuring out the mystery. This was the toughest one to figure out, and just kind of having all the major characters gather at this one central location for this big, almost climactic battle sort of thing was really, really cool. Um, the power that you got in here was cool. It worked fine. It was not like super intuitive and like changing the way you investigated or anything. It just made it easier to investigate narratively. The twist with the partner and the culprit and all that stuff was fairly well done. It painted a really nice narrative for the whole story. But yeah, I actually don't think the narrative was. I do think the narrative was good, but I actually would say the narrative from Chapter 5 and how it finished off the game was better. The big reason I put Chapter 4 up top, like I was saying, is just the mystery, figuring out how the culprit did everything. And it kind of just throws you for a twist there. It's like I had to go like most of the way through the mystery labyrinth before I figured out who the culprit was. I won't say that the actual culprit wasn't one of my suspects, but it kind of did make you second guess um, your suspicions and stuff, and it kind of did make you think about other characters and stuff. In fact, in Tool, it was revealed. I was still thinking well, up until just a little bit before it was revealed, actually, it's like I was still thinking that the culprit might have been your partner from Chapter 3. And I was like, oh gosh, no, please don't. Um, one thing I will say is because of who the culprit is and the situations uh, revolving around it, it made it a little less emotional when the culprit was revealed. Maybe someone else will feel the same way if they've actually played through the game, but I don't really want to, like I said, I don't want to reveal too much in this video. Um, yeah. A really nice partner character. Like I said, the talent, the forte was okay. Um, but yeah, it's just really fun chapter. Really fun figuring out the mystery, and it was a really nice location for everything to happen, and just figuring out how it could have ever happened to begin with. Um, yeah, just nice twists. I think the twists in this one were harder to figure out than the twists in chapter 5 for sure. So yeah, that is everything for this video. So just going back over it just quickly. Worst chapters, chapter 3, no longer a detective. Then we got chapter 1, the Nailman killings. Chapter 0, along with the prologue, Massacre on Amaterasu Express. Um, chapter 2 is the third best with the silent curtain call. Chapter 5, the second best for that awesome and conclusion to the story, and chapter 4 being the best because of the case. But again, like I said, chapter 4 and chapter 5 could easily flip flop. So yeah, that's just the way I see that one. Yeah, overall, this is a really strong game, and like I said, I felt like it did a better job than Danganronpa did in a lot of ways. If they do a sequel, there are things I'd like to see them improve on, but I'm not really going to go into that in this video. Just um, yeah, this is just my list. I'd love to hear some comments from people who have finished the game themselves. What did you think about the chapters? Do you agree with this list? Do you disagree with it? Do you understand but disagree? Do you agree but think I missed on certain points? Just feel free to talk about it in the comments. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for everything. This has been Elegant Productions, and maybe I'll do another video on this in the near future. Thank you.